Shadow and I are making our way down off this mountain. We've been exploring in the desert, but we're anxious to get back before it's completely dark. And you can see the sun is setting. There's just a sliver of a moon, and that's going to be good because we are imaging tonight the sixth planet from the sun. And do you know what the sixth planet is? I'll give you a little way to easily remember the planets. The sun is a hot star. Mercury's hot too. Venus is the brightest planet, and Earth is home to me and you. Mars is the red one. Jupiter's really wide. Saturn has those icy rings, and Uranus spins on its side. Neptune's really windy. Pluto's really small. Now we've counted the planets and we've named them all. So there you go. So we're excited about imaging Saturn tonight because tonight Saturn is in opposition. Opposition meaning it's on the opposite side of the Earth from the sun. Let me illustrate this. So let's just pretend that that great big boulder right there is the sun. And let's pretend that that boulder right there is the Earth. And then this boulder right here, we'll budge it over just a little bit, is Saturn. So it's on the opposite side of the Earth from the sun. Now, it's way out there, so it's not like the moon, when the moon is on the opposite side of the Earth from the sun, it would be an eclipse. But Saturn's way out there, so it's still getting a lot of light from the sun. But the quality of the light is different. It's called the Seeliger effect. And it actually makes Saturn crisper. And the rings are easier to see. And it's actually brighter. And also, another reason why it's a great night, I mean, being in opposition is perfect. But it's also going to be very limited in the moonlight because you can see out there the moon. I'm hoping the camera can pick that up. The moon is, I'm not exactly sure what phase it's in, but it's just a small sliver. So that's not going to cause a lot of problems. So the conditions are ideal for imaging Saturn. We're anxious to make our way off the mountain. We've got a ways to go yet. It'll be dark, and then we're going to set up the telescope and we will get to imaging Saturn. But I want to tell you a little bit more about Saturn and a little bit more about imaging Saturn. So I'm going to make it a little further, and then we'll come back and talk some more about Saturn. I have to pay attention here because I'm going downhill. But a little more about Saturn. So Saturn is the second largest planet in our solar system. It is second to the largest, which is Jupiter, and it has a radius of about 9 times that of the Earth. So it's a big planet. And as you know, it has rings. Those rings are made of ice particles. There's thousands of rings that make up the rings of predominantly ice particles, space dust, and so forth. But ice particles, that's the main constituent of the rings. And Saturn has a lot of moons. I'll put down the number because I can't recall off the top of my head, but I think it's 146 or 149, something like that, but a lot of moons. So we are hoping to capture some of the bigger ones along with the icy rings. And Saturn is a gaseous planet, predominantly hydrogen and helium. It's very, very, very cold on the surface. I'll put down the temperature in the title below because I can't remember, but it's very, very cold. So it's not habitable by us humans or little shadows because it's too cold and it's made of gas. And we need like hard rock for little paws to walk on. And that's not Saturn. So let's talk a little bit about imaging Saturn, or imaging planets in general. Imaging planets is a very different process than imaging deep space objects, nebulae or distant galaxies that can be you know, millions of light years away in the case of galaxies, or thousands of light years away in the case of nebulae. And in those cases, you take very long exposures, you know, sometimes 10, 15, 20 minutes long, and a whole bunch of them, and you stack them. And you want to capture as much of that faint light as you possibly can. But with planets and the moon, it's basically you're videoing. They're very bright. So you take very, very short exposures, like 60 frames per second, just like you would if you were imaging. What are you doing there, Shadow? Just like you would do if you're, you know, videoing, just taking video footage. Very, very short exposures, because the object is moving very fast. And if you take a long exposure, it's going to blur. So you got to take very short exposures, and you don't need to take hours of images, maybe 5-10 minutes of very fast, you know, video speed footage. And then you take those and you run it through different software than you would use for processing the deep space objects. You'd use a different software to stack them. I won't bore you with the details, but it's a different process. And the reason why I want to kind of explain that to you is because the process is different than what I normally do. So planets and lunar photography are not my specialty. They're really, they kind of are specialties. And I think I got to find another way down. I don't think we're going to be getting down this way. No, definitely not. I think we need to actually go back a little ways and then down. Okay, we'll do that. So this is a different process than what I normally do. I've done it before. I've done Jupiter, I've done Mars, and the moon, and I've done Saturn before, but it was crappy. I didn't do a very good job, so I'm not going to show you that one. But tonight, I'm hoping that you do a better job. And a couple of more things about Saturn I wanted to tell you on tonight and imaging it, but that's come to my mind. But let me get down this this cliff here first before it gets too late, because you can see this is steep and it's getting late. Now this time of night, the light is kind of cool, I think, on the cliffs. They kind of glow. They kind of get a glow. You know, the sun's down, but there's sort of a golden effect. It's really beautiful. Really, really beautiful. But I also have to get down, and it's not as much light to use to climb down, so bear with me. I'm gonna go for it right here. Let me get Shadow. Shadow, come here, boy. You're always good at helping me find ways down things. There you go. Lead the way, Shadow. That's too steep for me. I'm gonna go this way. All right, we're down. I don't want to admit this, but I've slid down my fair share of mountainsides before. What you don't know won't hurt you. It hurt me, but it won't hurt you. All right, okay, so back to Saturn. The rings. So right now, you know, as the Earth rotates around the sun, as you know, and Saturn rotates around the sun as well. Now, the Earth rotates around the sun once every 365 days, right? That makes a year. Now, Saturn rotates around the sun once every, and I'll put it in the titles again, it's like 24 or 25 years. So it's a totally different cycle. But as it rotates, and its relationship to the Earth, our view of it, changes. And so the angle that we're viewing it will change over time. And right now, the icy rings are almost directly in line with our line of sight. They're tilted at a 3.3% degree. So we'll see them just a slight angle, and that's kind of pretty cool. So that is another reason why I'm pretty excited about imaging it tonight. One more thing, Saturn, another reason why tonight's going to be a great night to image it, is that it is the closest to Earth that it will be for the rest of the year. And that is approximately 72 light minutes. 72 light minutes from Earth. It takes 72 minutes for the light that leaves or reflects off the surface of Saturn to reach the Earth. That may not sound like a very long time, but that's a long distance. Light travels at 186,000 miles or 300,000 kilometers per second. It rotates around the Earth 7.5 times in a second. So to be 72 light minutes away, that's a long ways away, but it's as close as it's going to get. So another good reason to be imaging Saturn tonight. All right, one last little hill to climb here, and then we'll be on flat terrain for the next half mile, and then we'll be at the trailhead. So remember a little poem about the planets and their order? So you can see the moon there, right? And then as I come around this corner here, can you see that bright object straight ahead through there? Don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it's very bright to be able to see that while there's still a sunset in play. Tells me, of course, then it's a planet. And what planet could be that bright? Well, if you recall, the sun is a hot star, Mercury's hot too, Venus is the brightest planet, and Earth is home to me and you. Mars is the red one, Jupiter's really wide, Saturn has those icy rings, and Uranus spins on its side. Neptune's really windy, Pluto's really small. We wanted to name the planets, and we've named them all. I might have got that last sentence wrong. So, the sun is a hot star, Mercury's hot too, Venus is the brightest planet. That's Venus, right out there. Brightest planet. So even though there's still a sunset in play, we can see it. Well, Shadow and I made it back, and we are actively imaging. The telescope is set up. We are on Saturn. Isn't that right? And we've got some active video to show you. Let's go out in the backyard and we'll show you what's going on. Here are my aquatic ponds that I built. And there are fish in there. They're hiding. The fish in this pond had babies here recently, so there's a whole bunch more. But that's not what we're interested in tonight, right? Okay, here we are. That's the big Dobsonian here. Don't want to interfere with it. And I'm going to turn this light off. So here we are. There is Saturn, but it's coming along. So right now as we speak on this series, I've got 2,300, almost 2,400 frames, and it's clicking off at 8 frames per second. I'd like to go faster, but that's the maximum I can do with this equipment. I'm happy though. I think it should be good. Okay, I'm just going to sit back and let this run, and I'm going to process this in the morning and show you what we got.